Here we cut the BS and talk about what the media doesn't tell you.
Bullshit.
If you are watching, then you probably know who this guy is. But for those who don't, let me introduce you to Alex, also known as History Legends. So, what has this fool done? Clickbait and shitty YouTube videos. That's what he's done. If you've ever watched his updates on the Russo-Ukrainian war, then you've probably gotten a feeling that he panders a little to the Russian side, which is weird since he constantly claims how unbiased and contrarian he is. So, is he a Russian shill? Probably. Let me explain. The first thing you'll notice about this guy is that he thinks he's smart for not listening to mainstream woke liberal media. Judging from his content, you can tell that he's this Western conservative fellow who thinks that everything has gone to shit because of the, woke. Not to get too political here, but these people are far more susceptible to Russian propaganda as it takes advantage of their ideals and insecurities. Since they distrust their own media, it's easier for Russian news outlets to convince them that their side of the story is the truth. As for his reporting of the war, it used to be somewhat decent. Of course, there was some dumb stuff here and there, like when he said that Ukraine had 600,000 soldiers on the front line, that they were abandoning the Donbass, and that Russia was firing up to 400 to 600,000 shells of artillery a day. You'd expect him to improve and avoid saying dumb shit, but no. He only gets worse, especially after the fall of Mariupol when the image of Western media was tarnished after they tried to downplay the event. He started to distrust Western sources even more, which probably led him to pursue alternatives that are even worse, but adhere to a contrarian narrative. This has led him to claim that Ukraine has a 4-to-1 numerical advantage, that they are throwing hundreds of thousands of conscripts into the meat grinder, and that even a HIMARS had been destroyed without even showing the complete video of it being hit. He even goes as far to talk about events that never actually happened. He's also somewhat of a hypocrite, constantly saying that everyone is biased and he isn't, while slandering the Ukrainians at every second he gets. Like seriously, his videos are completely one-sided. He'll piece together whatever he can find from TikTok and Telegram to argue that Ukraine is doing terrible. It's gotten to the point that he'll mock them for whatever little issue he can. The only time he points out Russia's failures is when it's undeniable and obvious. Oh look guys, I also criticize Russia. Look at me, I'm so unbiased. The predictions he makes whenever Russia captures a small little village are also somewhat exaggerated and highly favorable towards them. Seriously, whenever Russia advances just a little bit, he goes on and on and on while acting like it'll change the tide of the war. Look guys, Russia captured a shithole. The front line is collapsing, oh my god. Worst of all, a lot of what he says promotes literal propaganda from the Russian state media. The Ukrainians are Nazis, their soldiers are drug addicts, Kherson fell flat, their leaders are all corrupt, they're stealing all the donated weapons, NATO is planning Ukraine's offensives, according to some speculation and rumors I've heard. Western troops are also fighting in Kharkiv because 2 guys there were speaking English. Oh, and guess what? Maidan wasn't a revolution, but a coup planned by the West and their ultra-nationalist lapdogs. Seriously though, how fucking stupid do you have to be to believe that Maidan was a coup? Now, he doesn't actually say this, he just implies it. But then again, propaganda can be subtle. To make matters worse, he's also appeared on pro-Russian podcasts. During one of these podcasts, he was accompanied by a mentally deranged lunatic, a Twitter user with a hairline that's retreating faster than the Russians in Kharkiv. I don't know much about the last one, but I heard he makes propaganda for the CCP. Regardless of what your stance on the conflict is, these are not the type of people you want to be hanging around with. Especially if you're just going to sit there and pretend these fuckers know what they're talking about. Oh, and History Legends would like to remind you that he's still completely unbiased. You'd expect that in the light of recent events he'd figure out how stupid he is, but no he doesn't. He just doubles down on his previous takes, such as the ones he made about the Kherson offensive, instead of questioning the reliability of his sources. Perhaps he does realize that he was wrong, but doesn't have the balls to actually admit it. Or maybe he just doesn't want to upset his audience of shills. Since this hypocrite constantly fucks up, he has garnered a lot of criticism. You'd expect him to just ignore it, or to learn from it, and clear up some things, but no. The only time he acknowledges criticism is by responding to comments with such mind-boggling phrases like, no, false, devil emoji. Even when people explain why he is wrong, he just makes fun of them and calls them haters who can't handle a different perspective. I wonder what he'll say about this video. Overall, his reporting of the war has been pretty bad. You could even say that it fell flat. Okay, post-production's Wildcat right here. This guy, he released a video about a week ago, and he's claiming that Russia has suffered a little over 10,000 dead soldiers. 10,000 over 10 months of war. Like, really, according to this Russian opposition news outlet based in Estonia, that is the case. Like, this is one source, and he has come to this conclusion. Like, this fucker right here has even said at times, as an analyst, I have to take everything with skepticism and analyze it to make sure it's the truth. I can't trust the Western media, you know? But like here, he is literally taking information from a pro-Ukrainian or anti-Russia news outlet and taking it at face value. This guy has the fucking audacity to say that he's analyzing things with an unbiased perspective and blah 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 blah. I would have given him the chance to redeem himself and make right by his mistakes, but after realizing how he handles criticism, and that he subtly promotes propaganda, I've changed my mind. This video only scratches the surface and was initially going to be half an hour long, but I couldn't write a good enough script. To sum this guy up, he thinks he's a genius for being contrarian and not following the mainstream narrative. When he came across Russian Telegram, he creamed his pants with excitement, thinking that he found some forbidden knowledge stowed away by the liberals. He cherry-picks facts, he subtly promotes propaganda, presents predictions that are favorable to the Russians, and slanders the Ukrainians at every second he can, all under the illusion of being unbiased and providing a different perspective. Personally, I wouldn't recommend his content. The only reason to ever watch his stuff is to try to get into the mind of a shill.